Let the record show that the regular Riverview City Council meeting was called to order at 7:01 on March 6, 2023. Will the clerk please take roll?
Councilmember Blanchett. Councilmember Ganaga. Here. Councilmember Norton.
Here.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Robbins.
Here.
Mayor Swift.
Here.
Councilmember Workman.
Here.
Let the record show that Councilwoman Blanchett is excused. Tonight we have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilwoman Ganaga and invocation by Councilman Norton. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank you for all of our blessings. We'd ask you please to continue to keep this country, this state, and this city safe, and we'll give you all the blessings. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that. Jeff, do we have any announcements before we get started?
Yes, Your Honor, we do. Mike Kettler, Golf Department. I'm sorry. I caught you, didn't I, Mike? Look at that. I'm sorry, Recreation Department, Todd Dickman.
Well, Mike can make my announcement if
Yeah.
he wants to. No, I'd just like to say that this year the Recreation Department is going to bring back our Easter stroll that has been successful over the last couple of years. But before we do announce that the Easter stroll, we are looking to see if any businesses or any even residents of Riverview would like to be a part of the Easter stroll. The Easter stroll is going to be the Saturday right before Easter on April 8th this year. And what we're looking for is any organizations, businesses, or groups, residents that would like to participate is come out. You can set up a little area and pass out a little piece of candy, trinket, or something to the kids that participate, that come out to the stroll. And it's been a big success over the last couple of years. I believe last year we were around 325 kids, so it was a nice day for the Easter stroll on that. And that will be on Saturday, April 8th this year from 11 to 12 noon. So if anyone does want to participate and be a part of it, please contact myself or Donna Mitchell in the Recreation Department. Thank you.
And I did let Donna know that the Kiwanis will be there again this year. It's always a lot of fun.
Your Honor, Chief Allen?
Thank you, Jeff, Mayor and Council. This Friday is the Riverview Hall of Fame Awards Dinner. Chief Lammers and I wanted to show our appreciation to the Officers of the Year, who will be honored this Friday at the Hall of Fame dinner. After I say a brief couple words about Officer of the Year, Lieutenant Bemis, I'll turn over the mic to Chief Lammers, and then we would like to come up on stage and present some plaques, if that's okay. Lieutenant Bemis was nominated Officer of the Year by his peers and selected by me because he unselfishly took over the department when it needed some leadership. Lieutenant Bemis did a great job of keeping our personnel focused on our mission and task at hand. Lieutenant Bemis, your professionalism, dedication, sacrifice, and leadership does not go unnoticed, and I want to thank you for your continued service to this great city. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Jeff. On behalf of the Riverview Fire Department, we too would like to recognize Firefighter of the Year. This year, our award goes to firefighter Justin Lesniak. Justin has been with the department since April of 2021. Shortly after coming on board, was elevated up to full-time status. The reason that he's getting this award this year for the previous year is we've implemented a number of new programs over the last year, and Justin, as our IT department liaison, was very instrumental in getting that program up for us. In addition to that, after we had another firefighter leave, he has stepped up and he's taken care of all of our EMS-related stuff with HIMSS, and has stepped up very eloquently with that regard and does a wonderful job for us. He monitors all of our EMS reports and goes over that and reports back and makes sure that we're doing all the things that we need to do. So Justin is very deserving of this award, And we recognize him for that today as well as this weekend at the awards banquet. Thank you, Justin. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Lieutenant Bemis, on behalf of the Police Department and the Hall of Fame, we want to honor you with this plaque and congratulate you on being the Officer of the Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I have to apologize. I didn't know we were going to present the plaques tonight, but we have one for Justin back in the office as well, and I'll give it to him with a piece of pizza or something later. So, Justin, congratulations. Again, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Chief. Chief Lammers, you can stay up here. Everybody else can feel free to sit down. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Also, tonight we do have awards presentation proclamations, what we just done, but we also want to take tonight to recognize Acting Sergeant Damon Sutton for his promotion to Sergeant effective February 6, 2023. Chief, you want to take it over?
Thank you, Mayor. Sergeant Sutton, would you like to come up, please? I know you don't want to, but we're going to have you come up anyway. Damon is the type of individual that doesn't like to take a lot of credit for the many things that he does in the department. Damon retired from Detroit Fire Department. I need to look at my notes here. Where he was a lieutenant, and I know he was an instructor there, training officer and field supervisor. He retired from the Detroit Fire Department in October of 2019. Damon also serves as our chief training officer for the department, and he's also a state certified instructor in both fire and EMS, and he holds several other training certificates through the Michigan Firefighters Training Council. This evening, we would like to recognize Sergeant Sutton for his dedication and loyalty to the Riverview Fire Department and the citizens of this great community. Damon, thank you.
Would you like to say a few words? As shy as you are? Here you go.
Thank you.
The City of Riverview, and along with council and myself, thank you for all you do for us. Thank you. Item 5.1, approve the minutes of the 2/21/23 regular Riverview City Council meeting and the condensed version for publication. What's council's pleasure?
So moved. Support.
Motion by Councilwoman O'Neill, supported by Councilwoman Ganaga. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ganaga?
Yes.
Councilmember Norton?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Swift?
Yes.
Councilmember Workman?
Yes.
Tonight we have no public hearings. Now it's time for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the mayor and council, please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record. Try to keep your comments to 5 minutes. There is no sharing of time and no rebuttals. And this is always the clincher. Please be respectful.
Bill Toll, 17861 Devonshire, Riverview. I will address the chair, but my questions are directed to Councilman Norton. Since he chaired the committee to evaluate opting into the state law governing recreational marijuana. 3 questions. How does this ordinance benefit our community? And be specific. The only thing I've heard anybody say is, well, it's going to increase revenue. Number 2, I'd like to know how many locations were approved by the committee and the address of each. so the average person can go up and see if it's going to be next door to their business or not. Number 3, how much revenue did the committee forecast that these facilities would generate? I haven't really heard anything other than, well, we get so much a license. That fee last year was about $57,000. I think it dropped down to $51,000 this year. My own opinion is the more people that get into it, that pie's going to get smaller each time. And I'd really like to know why this committee was so opposed to placing it on the ballot. Now, I'll wait to the close of the meeting for Council Nortman's response to my questions. Also, I want to thank Elmer Trombley for his efforts to get this issue on the ballot so the residents will have the opportunity to vote on Council members Norton, O'Neill, Gagne, and Robbins' ordinance to opt in, since these council members refused to place it on the ballot and let the residents decide. Thank you.
Somebody's phone's going off just in case they can't hear it. Okay, anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ed Moss. I live at 18207 Valade. Before I get started with comments, one thing that occurred to me is for everybody that was the victim of last week's ice storm that lost power, I know I didn't see so much damage in this city, but certainly our friends in Trenton had a lot of damage in certain places from what I saw. So my wishes and good thoughts are with them on that. The next two comments I've already addressed to the people individually, so I'll be brief with them. And that is, not knowing that Lieutenant Bemis was named Officer of the Year, I think it's very fitting, and I couldn't top or do justice to Chief Allen's comments about that, because I wholeheartedly concur. And for the first time ever, I actually thanked a police officer for helping me, either here or anywhere. So that was a very interesting experience for me. And then the other person I wanted to thank is Elmer Trombley. And regardless of how anybody feels about the marijuana proposal and that, the fact that he utilized and exercised our democracy and restored my faith that, in fact, democracy does exist in Riverview, he is to be commended for that. Very much so, and I would consider that, and I don't know how he feels about it, but I would hope he'd feel like that was one of the best achievements of his life. Now, with that having been said, I am going to address a few comments that were made about me at the last meeting. I'll start with Councilmember Norton through your chair, Mr. Mayor. Two things I'll say is, one is he had said that he was a constitutionalist, and while that may be, I think he forgot about the three most important words of the Constitution, and that would be the first three. With that having been said, I tend to favor the Gettysburg Address, where Lincoln talked about government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And while this city may be government of the people, and it may be government by the people, it is certainly not government for the people, at least not right now. Next, just so you know, Councilmember Norton, because I don't think you do, and I normally don't talk about personal details of my life, but I'm going to talk about the day where the police officer came shining the light through my house. It was January 23rd. The Cowboys were playing the 49ers in a playoff game, which they ultimately won 19-12. I believe it was the third quarter. I made two calls to the police department. I think one was in the third quarter, one was in the fourth quarter. The summation of those were that my neighbors were doing something that I don't remember, and it was actually the first time this year I'd called the police department, which is the latest in the calendar year I'd ever gone without having to call Riverview Police at the start. Subsequently, what ended up happening is I ended up emailing the chief while I was writing the game, or while I was watching the game. And then, before I know it, I heard bam, 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 bam on my door. Usually, fear that was police. If anybody blams on my door like that, I'm not going to answer it. And to actually harp on something that Mayor Duran said one time is, he talked about when people came banging on their door that he thought they were either unbalanced or rude. So I wonder, Chief Allen, was that officer unbalanced or rude? Anyway, what ended up happening is when I ignored that, I started seeing a light. He starts or assuming it's a male, I don't know if they're a female, would do, starts twirling his light all around. Okay, so it got my attention somewhat, but what ended up happening is I ignored that too. And then until the light got right in my eye, and mind you, with my head being to the side of it, I saw out of the corner of my eye, I looked out, and I saw a shadowy figure of what appeared to be a police officer. So at that point, I called the police one more time, and I said, if the officer doesn't remove himself from my property within a minute, the next day I'm coming down to City Hall to talk to Mayor Swift about it. And within about 30 seconds, that person was gone, thankfully. But it shouldn't have taken all that. So, like you, I hadn't thought about that when I was saying that last meeting, but that's where I drew the line. And subsequently, I emailed Chief Allen and told him, unless I'm under arrest, not to send the police to my door anymore. And so that's that. And actually, you have a copy of that email, just so you know, Councilmember Norton, because at that time, that's when all my emails to Chief Allen got directed to the council and Mayor Swift himself. In terms of you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not surprised by what you said about what you thought of my opinion being way off base or not with reality, but I'm going to suggest to you that you're not the reality judge of this city or of anybody, and that everybody's perception of reality is their own and may be different from everybody else's. Secondly, it seems like to me that you are the mayor of this city and not the czar of it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Jared Coyne, 18160 Brentwood Drive. So I wanted to address the initiative that's coming up. As I've said before, I don't really care. You guys know my view on the future of the country and our Western culture at large. The average person's on 17 different pills, and they're going to want to smoke their pot. Whatever. It is what it is. What I'm concerned about is if we have lawsuits over business licenses being issued out. So this is something maybe for Randy to look at. I'm curious to know what he thinks. If Mr. Trombley's initiative was to pass, and let's say there's 4 or 5 different licenses out there for businesses at the time, right? They're annual licenses under the ordinance. However, on renewal, there's a property interest in a license that people generally have, whether it's a gun permit, a business license, whatever it may be. There might have been recent cases, but I'm thinking of the Roth case, the Board of Regents v. Roth from 1972. That's the one that comes to mind. So what my question is you might, well, it's not a question, it's more, you might want to get an Attorney General opinion on this, because I'm always thinking about the city's finances, and, people will sue either way, and an Attorney General opinion isn't binding, it's persuasive, but I think it's something that the city could use as a shield. So basically, if you get a state rep or a state senator to request an opinion from the Attorney General's office, they almost always will, and they will write that. I would recommend you get the process started now, because I thought about it, and it's actually interesting, because do you have a property interest in something that's prohibited by federal statute? I don't know. I've looked, I can't find any court precedent on that from the Sixth Circuit or from SCOTUS. So that might be something that you guys might want to look at, because I would hate to see our city, spend a lot of money fighting this either way, however it turns out. I don't think it's going to pass anyway, but just in the case that it does, that's something to think about. So if anyone has any questions, you know where to find me.
Thank you. Anybody else? And we'll be moving on. Thank you. 8.1 organizational business. Appoint to the City of Riverview Building Authority. We have one application from a Mr. Frank Christensen. What's council's pleasure?
So moved.
Support. Motion by Councilwoman Ganaga, supported by Councilman Workman. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Norton?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Swift?
Yes.
Councilmember Workman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga?
Yes.
8.2, appoint to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Before we ask for a roll call, I do need to point out to council that there was a mistake in the background. It should read the Recreation Commission is an 11-member board with 5 members. Mr. Elmer Trombley has filed an application for an appointment. So with the appointment of Mr. Trombley, it would be at 6, and then that would give quorum. So is there a motion to appoint to the Parks and Recreation Commission, Mr. Elmer Trombley?
So moved, Your Honor.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Workman, supported by Councilwoman O'Neill. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Swift?
Yes.
Councilmember Workman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga?
Yes.
Councilmember Norton?
Yes.
Is there any item council wants removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none. 9.1, approve special events application from Gabriel Richard High School for Bites, Beats, and Brew Food Truck Rally on school grounds June 3rd, 2023. 9.2, approve special events application from Grace Point Church to hold a Grace Point Night Market on the church property on June 10th, 2023. 9.3, authorize the execution and subrecipient agreement for the program year 2022 for the Community Development Block Grant and certifications. And one budget amendment, 9.4. What's council's pleasure?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Norton, supported by Councilwoman O'Neill. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Swift?
Yes.
Councilmember Workman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga?
Yes.
Councilmember Norton?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Tonight we have no resolutions, nothing under administration. 12.1, authorized by second reading by title only and the adoption of proposed ordinance number 738 to amend the Code of Ordinances for the City of Riverview by the addition of section 66-123 in chapter 66 regarding prohibiting double parking of vehicles within the city. What's council's pleasure?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilman O'Neill, supported by Councilwoman Ganaga. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mayor Swift?
Yes.
Councilmember Workman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga?
Yes.
Councilmember Norton?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance number 738, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances for the City of Riverview by the addition of Section 66-123, double parking of vehicles prohibited, of Article 4, stopping, standing, and parking, in Chapter 66, traffic and vehicles, to prohibit the double parking of vehicles within the city.
With that, I would look for a motion to adopt proposed ordinance number 738.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilman O'Neill, supported by Councilman Norton. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Workman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga?
Yes.
Councilmember Norton?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Swift?
Yes. 12.2, authorize second reading by title only and adoption of proposed ordinance number 739 to amend the Chapter 30 Fire Prevention and Protection of the Riverview Code by the addition of Article 4, National Fire Prevention Association, to adopt the 2021 editions of NFPA 1 and NFPA 101. What's council's pleasure?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilwoman Ganaga, supported by Councilman Robbins. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ganaga?
Yes.
Councilmember Norton?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Swift?
Yes.
Councilmember Workman?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance number 739, an ordinance to amend Chapter 30, Fire Prevention and Protection of Riverview Code by the addition of Article 4, National Fire Prevention Association, NFPA, to adopt the 2021 editions of NFPA 1 and NFPA 101 and add them to the Fire Safety Code.
With that, I would look for a motion to adopt proposed ordinance number 739.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilwoman Ganaga, supported by Councilman Norton. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Norton?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Swift?
Yes.
Councilmember Workman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga?
Yes.
Other business. Any other business council wants to bring up at this time? I don't know if you want to address.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Council,
Mayor.
But before you do, I will, the shorter version, I will address the best I can, and maybe the attorney Hurley can help.
We have one more ordinance.
Oh, I'll be darned. I guess I wanted to be out by 7:30. That's not going to happen now. All right, 12.3, authorize first reading by title only, proposed ordinance number 740 to amend the zoning ordinance for the city of Riverview by repeal and readoption of the applicable zoning districts to be consistent with the recently adopted cannabis business license ordinance. What's council's pleasure?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Ganaga, supported by Councilman Norton. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember O'Neill? Yes. Councilmember Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Swift?
Yes.
Councilmember Workman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga?
Yes.
Councilmember Norton?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance number 740, zoning ordinance, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance for the city of Riverview by the repeal and readoption of Article 6, B1, B2, B3, and FS districts, and Article 7, M1 and M2 industrial districts, to permit cannabis adult use retailers and microbusinesses as an adult regulated use under special uses.
Thank you. Now, any other business council wants to bring up at this time, we'll get to Councilman Norton, but I think the short answer for Mr. Coyne was, yes, there is a property interest, and from what I understand by reading some of the feedback we got from the attorney, and maybe Mike can clarify if I'm wrong, that if this ordinance passes, and only if it passes, we are still going to be issuing licenses. We're still, I guess I said it's business as usual for the city of Riverview. But if this does pass in November, it's not until next year that the licenses would not be renewed. Am I correct in assuming that? Okay.
That's correct.
So, but until then, it's business as usual. We're moving forward with. We're doing all we need to do to go through the due process. Councilman Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll address the three questions that Mr. Toll had. The first one, how does it benefit our community? I think we've gone over these before, but as Councilmember Ganaga has mentioned many times, we've had people that were threatening a petition of the opposite sort, and then the city would lose control for 2 years. Am I correct, Mr. Attorney? Yes. Okay.
Discuss that.
So how does it benefit our community? I think any new business has the potential to benefit the community. I will say that this is an ordinance that we approved. We approve ordinances all the time. In 2018, the state of Michigan changed the law. So there's also two other colleagues of mine that were on the committee. Locations, how many? We don't know. We paid very close attention to the school superintendent. We were very passionate about his concerns, not having it around the schools. So that's why there's a very small green space, if we can use that word, Mr. Mayor, on the west side of Fort Street, and a small section on King Road. Technically, I guess you could say there's some on West Jefferson, but that's privately owned businesses. So I don't know how many. It was our legal recommendation, would that be fair to say, to not put a number on it?
I don't know how we could.
Right, right. You were, Mr. Hurley was on the committee along with Councilmember Ganaga, Councilmember O'Neill. Revenue for the city, I can't answer that. I don't know what the future holds. I don't have a crystal ball. I know that last year, I think it was $56,000 per store in the city. This year, it's $51,000. It might drop down to in the 40s. I don't know. So I can't tell you. I know that every business that comes to Riverview for this, there'll be a $10,000 a year that they put into a community development program? Benefit. And then $5,000 a year for a business license. A normal business license in Riverview is $75, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. So there's your answers.
Your Honor, may I add just one benefit?
Go right ahead.
To the community as well. This also provides a lot of jobs, usually about 20 to 40 per store, and over 60% of those hold master's and bachelor's degrees. So they do offer a lot of employment opportunities, higher education, and they do have healthcare, higher wages, many other things to offer the community as well.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Your Honor,
Councilman Robbins.
through your chair to Mr. Hurley, if this petition in fact goes through and it does get put on the ballot, we will not be eligible for that excise tax this year, correct? We will have to wait until the following year if it passes by a vote of the people?
You won't be eligible for what?
The excise tax, it was 56,400 last year. We won't be able to get that this year because it's got to get voted on
It's
yet.
going to be based upon,
No, just,
sorry, it's going to be based upon the number of licenses that are issued in the city as of September 30th of 2023.
okay,
So
so,
if you have
Right.
any, then you will get money next year for that in 2024.
Gotcha.
No money is going to be received in 2023.
now, if we would have continued the way that we went and it would have just passed, would we have been eligible for that excise tax this cycle?
No, you'd had to have licenses issued before September 30th of last year to
Okay.
be eligible for money for this year.
Okay,
They do, if I'm not mistaken, they do a one-year look back, so that won't happen until November of 2024. So that's when they do the look back. And then you said the amount is obviously it's by license. So is there anything that says how long that license has been in effect? So let's just say we had 2 licenses, 3 licenses, whatever the number is, for 4 months, 5 months. Does the state look at how long that license has been in effect? Just the fact that it's there?
No, they only look at, are they in effect as of September 30th of
Okay,
the state, end of the state fiscal year.
all right. Thank you.
It could be a day or it could be 365 days.
All right. Anything else council wants to bring up at this time? With that, I will look for a motion from whoever, Lynn's not here, to adjourn into closed session for collective bargaining discussions.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman O'Neill, supported by? Councilman Workman. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Robbins.
yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Councilmember Norton.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill. Yes.
Let the record show we adjourned at 7:33.